It is 7:39 p.m. Sunday the 30th? What day? I don't know. One of our kids is in bed. The other one's watching TV. And it's time to get our bacon. Although we've come to the end of the road, oh, I can't let go. That's all I remember.
Hey, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Travis McElroy, and this is the finale of this season of Bake On.
I'm Teresa McElroy, and I am also here for the finale. We are late, but that's okay.
Well,
we had American Thanksgiving.
And BB was a little sick. Nothing serious, nothing to worry about. But between that and another tooth coming into Baby Dot's face, there wasn't a lot of downtime.
We could tell you all our reasons, but the fact is we're here now.
We're here now, and you know what? That should be good enough for you,
okay,
Josh.
Let's jump right in.
I feel like I'm going to be a little negative this episode.
What is this drink you made me, by the way?
That drink?
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Silent Night. It's bourbon and Benedictine with a little bit of bitters.
Oh.
And one slice of orange peel. I'm having bourbon. Period. And
neat. It looks like with
an orange peel
as well.
So for our little treats, I made a pumpkin roll for Thanksgiving,
which was the best one yet.
Thank you. I had a slice of that,
and Travis bought a chocolate cake
from Kroger,
which is a local grocery store chain. I had a slice of that.
Indeed. So now we're both a little tipsy and a little full. And a little carved up.
And a little jazzed up to talk about the final.
I'm going to be a little judgy this episode.
Oh, just like Prue and Paul.
Just like Prue and Paul. Start to finish, I think Laura showed she didn't belong in the finals.
Okay. All right. I, too, had the thought when everything went wrong with her signature. What is she doing? Like, just what is she doing? But the fact is, this is how it shook out. And,
Okay.
Here, hold on. Wait a second. There has been a lot of vitriol online.
Which is not fair.
At Laura.
Don't get me wrong, not fair.
Calling her names.
Not fair, not nice. Don't like it.
And that's not good. And so, even though, yes, maybe she does not belong in the top 3 amateur bake-off competition, she did her best.
Let me clarify then. I have nothing against her personally, and I do believe she is a good baker. Mm-hmm. I believe she belongs in the Great British Bake Off competition. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is that what we are seeing is a statistical anomaly that I think has been a long time coming.
Okay.
Where someone has managed to not be the worst for so long that they have stayed in till the finals. Because like last week, if we talked about it last week, if Ermine hadn't had such a bad week, then Ermine would have been in and Laura would have been out.
Right.
But it seems like looking back over this series, it always seemed like at a time where it's like, well, Laura is going to go out this week. Somebody has a worse week than her.
It seems almost like a Prue prophecy. Remember when she told Lottie, you just have to not be the worst? But
this is the first time we've seen that kind of strategy play out up till the finals.
Right.
Because when it came down to it, I think, listen, folks, we was pulling for Peter.
Yes. We made no secret of the fact that Peter was our favorite.
But watching this episode, I definitely could have seen a trajectory in which Dave took it.
Yeah, absolutely. They were very evenly matched this episode.
But I think they even said during the wrap-up, like, so Laura's not going to win. So it's between Dave and Peter. And it's like,
But everyone was very kind to Laura, which I really appreciate. She had a little bit of a breakdown in her signature. Her custard wasn't setting, and Noel was right there for her.
Noel was a great cheerleader.
I really appreciate Noel's, like, I want to say character art, but He's a person, so
No, it worked. Yeah, character arc.
his character arc.
Listen, if you can talk about character arc on shows like Top Model and Bachelor, you can talk about it on Great British Bake Off.
I feel like he started out being like, "Oh, I'm a goth and I'm not gonna eat any
That's
cake."
a really good no.
Hey, thanks.
I mean, not great. That's better than I could do.
And now he's
I'm no Fielding in it. I know, no, it's me. The
no,
vampire crow.
no, but now he's like, "Kiss Mr. Spoon, and I have kids, and I'm 47, but I love to play." So
Yeah, that is what he said. Okay, so let's talk about the actual thing.
the thing.
And then we can talk about like the broad strokes of the season.
Okay, all right.
So first was custard
Slice.
slices.
Because I feel like custard is kind of like a thing that you would eat in a bowl, like a pot of custard type
Sure.
thing. And so slice is very, it is what it is. It says slice.
Well, and I think that what we saw from Dave and Peter was what they were looking for. Especially, I would say, kudos to Peter. When they cut his, it remained like a solid chunk, but still had wobble.
Right.
Still had the wobble to
was
it.
very easy to chew.
Right. But I think Peter's won out in the signature because it was a little more complex.
Right. Dave was more caramel, right?
Right.
He's deep into caramel.
Where
which is
Peter
fine.
had like the raspberry and bourbon and like
Yeah, it was just a deeper depth of flavor.
and so Laura's was
But-
a failure.
I think that Prue especially was very kind to Laura.
Well, sure. I mean, listen, baby, you're not gonna catch me. They were very kind to Laura. They were very kind to Laura.
They were very kind all over. I think that there have been some finals where Paul is like, "Oh, we got to be tough on them and we really have to nitpick and figure out." Is that a thing?
Yeah,
We say nitpick?
I think that they did that. Though I think they were very picky with Peter and Dave.
Dave.
I think that from the get they were soft on Laura because they knew she wasn't going to win. And listen, once again, I cannot stress enough. This is not a personal thing against Laura. I think Laura is great. You're giving me a face. My point is, I will never forget watching the Richard, Nancy, Louis final, which, by the way, Louis,
Rest in peace, Louis.
it could have been any one of the three of them.
Right.
Depending on how it all shook out, I'll never forget watching that season. I think it was the first season we watched.
It was, yeah. And
Where-
then we went back and watched the other seasons.
Right.
Of it.
Where in the final, like the showstopper, it was like, it could be any of these three.
Like one of the things, the technical was 12 scones, 12 tarte aux citrons, and 12...
Was it? No, there was something with, because they wrote on it and chocolate.
That was the tarte aux citron.
No, was it? Okay.
Yeah.
And like
so,
maybe
like,
opera cakes or something?
No, there was one other little like tea cake thing. But anyway, I think that like it was very close at that. So much so that they were like, the lettering on this tarte aux citron
Right.
wasn't quite as good as the other lettering. But I mean, yes,
And this wasn't that.
you're right. This was not that.
And I said I was going to talk about. I'll save my broad strokes. So then the custard, we talked about it afterwards, and I think that Peter, and it's weird to talk about who won signature.
Yeah,
but I think
'cause that's
especially
not
for
really a thing.
but especially for the final, I think it matters.
Yes.
because I think Peter won signature. So then we get to the technical where they were making the walnut whirls, and this is my favorite choice of technical for the entire season.
Yeah, you were saying about the breakdown. So
Right.
talk our listeners through it.
So what I loved about it, the thing that I think makes it a great technical is the individual pieces, right? The sablé biscuit, the marshmallow, the coffee infused ganache, the the tempered chocolate, even the roasted walnuts, right? All individually, there's a lot that can go wrong with each one of them, but there are also skills that it's like you should be able to make marshmallow, you should be able to make ganache, you should be able to make, and so like where a lot of, especially this season, we've seen technicals that seemed like they were picked just to confuse the people, just to
Right, like that steamed pudding technical.
Right.
I'm still upset about it.
where this one seemed to be like, listen, if you know how to do these individual skills, you will do well at this. And I think to their credit, none of them were disasters, right? All
Right.
three of them, it came down to like, well, this hadn't set in time. There's a timing issue. It was another warm day in the tent. And
Laura had to remake her marshmallow,
Right.
but after that, it was fine.
But I think in that technical, I do think it showed a little bit of like all three of them have skills. All three of them deserve to be in Great British Bake Off, right?
Right,
They can
right,
do
right.
this thing with individually these pieces that are tough, right?
Right.
And so then in the technical, Dave won, when Dave, Peter, Laura. So then we get to the showstopper. And the showstopper was kind of a choose your own adventure.
Yeah, it was like choose your best bits or things you wish were better or just, do the best you can, make a tower out of it.
Now, I want to talk about Dave's for a second.
Okay.
Well, no, I want to talk about Dave's last. So Peter made like my experience in the tent kind of thing, like
Right.
a bonkers British baking show. And it had a lot of separate pieces. And it seemed like kind of thing of like, this shouldn't all work together, but it does. How bonkers, right?
Right. And it looked a little topsy-turvy, which was fun.
Right. And in the end, they liked, I think the breakdown that they said in the judge was like, 2 of the elements were great, 2 of the elements were okay.
Right.
Right. So then Laura's, I'm trying to remember what hers was. What do you remember about Laura's?
The key lime pie, they liked. The cinnamon rolls were overdone. The cake was okay, not like awesome. And then there were like macaroons or something. Did she get to the macaroons?
See, even
Yeah.
then, like I'm trying to remember, and like we were paying attention.
I was watching it, but there's something about just the kind of wash of tension that I don't really remember. Oh
But
no!
it seem-
Should we look it up?
Yeah, I'm going to look it up. So
Okay.
let's talk about Dave's, though, while I look it up.
All right.
So Dave went the way of I'm going to redo the things that I did bad at throughout the course of this.
Exactly.
Which is bold.
I was hoping and praying and wishing and hoping that someone would do a brownie. Remember? Oh, the brownie.
Yes.
The brownie
there's no
disaster.
way it wasn't going to be a brownie. Like, I understand what you're saying, but, like, it's hard for me not to imagine, like, that it was going to be a brownie.
And Paul was there for it. He was like, ooh, I got a gooey bit, which he was looking for with the brownies, which is good. He also did shoe buns, just like Peter. Peter's shoe buns were great. Dave's shoe buns were not so good because the
No.
filling was super wet, they said, and the outside wasn't, like, crunchy. But his cake was good. Fraser cake, always a difficult one. There's a lot that can go wrong in a Fraser cake. And so, like, and I think that his stand was also part of it, right? Some kind of like brittle or something. But yeah, there were lots of, as my college professors would say, lots of thorns and roses to go around.
Yes. Laura's was a rainbow dessert tower was what she went with. So when it all came down to it, basically, I think that it shook out to Peter won signature, Dave won technical, and then they liked both Dave and Peter's showstoppers in equal measure.
Right. And, there was some talk about how this was the closest and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like in other years, they may have gone into the minutia at the little, like the table, talking about this was this, but that was that, and then all of this stuff. But I feel like in this year of 2020, they spent a little more time on look at how far we've come
Right.
and look at the lengths we took to be here, and we were all separated from our families, and this was hard, and all that kind of stuff. So I think
side note.
yeah.
But no, hold on. To that point, hold on. I love that they did the videos from home.
Right, like they haven't been talking to them every single day.
It was like they'd been on the moon. Like, you've let them FaceTime with their family up till now, right?
Exactly. But, and I was like, oh, look at that sad little fate. Because it was just like 3 tables, because it was only the crew.
FETE, fate.
Right.
Yeah. Not like the fate of the individuals.
No. The British fate. So, like, there was just like 3 little tables for all the crew.
Well, it wasn't just the crew. They also brought in the hotel staff, which I thought was lovely. That was nice.
Sweet. And so, like, but in the past, there's been, like, stilt walkers and jugglers
and they've done
face
the
painting.
cutaways to, like, oh, and you remember this face from this season? And what about this person? Which, to be fair, I only ever remember 3 of those people. Half the time, they'll show, like, the person who went out the first week, and I'm like, okay. So I think that what we saw here, to that point, they were very careful at one point to say the closest we've ever seen.
Yes.
Talking about Prue and Paul.
Right. I said that. I was like, well, but he and Mary,
right.
Prue and Paul and Mary in the very first season, they deliberated for 5 hours. Right. And like one of the scenes that I remember just kind of like burned into my brain is the 3 finalists like sitting on a step in front of the like stately home that there's the manor and being like, wah, wah, we've been here for hours.
Did they do that? I don't remember that part.
That was how I interpreted it.
Because it kind of sounded like adults in Charlie Brown. Wah, 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 wah.
But literally 5 hours. That's super close.
Well, but this is what I'm saying is I don't think that this was a deliberation to that point between judges so much as I think that this is where it comes down to when it's this close. And they've said it before. This isn't me like assuming anything. They've said it before. When it's this close, they do look at performance collectively over the past. And I think at that point,
it's Peter.
Peter's a shoo-in, right? Dave, I do think Dave has done, it's one of those things where when I look back over the season, I have a hard time remembering if Dave has done well or not. But when you see him in the episodes, you're like, oh, yes, no, he is doing well.
Yes. I also would say that Dave showed steady improvement.
Yeah.
But if you're going to talk about starts and finishes, it's Peter.
Peter, like, had, I think, 2 bad episodes, Biscuit Week and Japanese or Patisserie. But, like, he had 2 bad weeks out of 10.
I think it's hard for us because we did 2 of those at the same time.
Yes. And so it's obviously Peter. Now, I would like to talk about broad strokes.
All right.
I've said it before on this show, and I will say it again now. I found myself watching this final, seeing Peter win, being happy for Peter.
Right.
Not only a very talented person, youngest to ever win Great British Bake Off, youngest to ever make it to the final.
Yes.
And I think he totally deserved it. I think it is a shame that this was the season he was on, because I would put him against any winner of Great British Bake Off, and I think he would go toe-to-toe with any one of them.
You know what is great about that is there are specials like the Holiday Bake Off.
Yes.
Which I bet that he'll be back for.
I mean, hope that's true. But what I'm saying is I think that this feels bad to say.
You wish it was harder for him? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Hear me out. I hate to say this because this is the first season we've done of this show. And maybe it's the first season a lot of people are watching. And it was a good season. But, like, I think as far as the caliber of competitor, this ranks pretty low for me as far as, but that's what I'm saying is I think Peter.
You're right. If you go back, you look at Raul, you look at Nadia, you look at Nancy.
You look, why am I forgetting?
John.
Like these people, like where from like the last 6 on, you're thinking
Yeah.
it could be any of them.
Right.
Right. And whereas this, it was like, it's Peter. It's Peter. I think if you go back over every episode we did, I don't know that there was ever an episode where Peter was in doubt for us, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that throughout the course of the season, and I think that the problem I'm having is I don't think Peter was challenged throughout the course of the season enough to see the like growth and improvement we have seen from other winners.
Okay.
And I do wish it was harder, only because I don't like having an asterisk next to his name of like, well, yeah, he won, but that was the COVID season, right? Like, I think that is a bummer.
I don't think that.
And
that
I'm
is
sorry
how-
to our British listeners that I just used the word bummer. I know that means something else there.
I don't think that will be an asterisk that ever follows his name.
I hope so.
I think that he will go down as the youngest finalist, and it's only up from here. You know, some of the winners, they go on to do things like TV shows and books and talks and ad campaigns and things like that, and some of them just want to go back to their normal life.
Yeah, some of them have come out and said, I hate that I won because now, like, I can't live a normal life. So we'll see how
Who
that
has
goes.
said that?
I think I saw, like, an article where John said, like, it was difficult for him going back to normal life. And I want to say Ruby?
Yeah, but she didn't win.
Well, yeah, Ruby just didn't like her experience on the show.
Oh, right. Okay.
Or it was more...
She's been in the tabloids a lot.
Right,
That's
right,
the
right.
thing about that, right?
I think she had to go through like a coming out process very publicly because of the tabloids.
Oh,
yeah, which was sucked.
but
That's what it was. Is there was like all this rumor mongering that it was her and Paul Hollywood having an affair, which she was like really upset about. And then when like she came out, she like took a dig at Paul Hollywood, and like it was like a whole thing.
yeah, but like Raul, he went back to his normal life. Like he is he's in the medical field, right?
No, I thought he was a rocket scientist.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
An engineer of some kind.
An
I actually think I'm sticking with rocket scientist.
all
though.
right. But anyway, so I don't think that this is the last that we'll see of our Peter.
No, I hope that's true. I hope that he fills in kind of a Nadia role, or even like a Martha role.
Oh, our Martha.
Our Martha, where occasionally like he'll like pop into something and get to do something, but mostly live a regular life. I could see
Yeah.
that.
You know what? I want to talk to our listeners for a second.
Oh, okay, listeners, time to put your headphones on.
I want to say a lot of these shows are available on Netflix. Go back and watch them.
Yeah.
Fill your heart. Because
And especially even the master classes,
Yep,
the
the
holiday ones. Oh,
Mary Berry also has like some Easter like holiday celebration things. Watch those and let it feel good.
go watch the Nadia season and then watch her show.
Oh, Nadia Bakes right
Yeah.
after. Perfect. And then also, if you enjoy the work that these artists do, follow their Insta.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
They're great follows.
I've got a whole like just. I love scrolling through Nadia's page. I love scrolling through Francis's pages.
You know, Michael from last season has a great TikTok.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really fun.
so yeah, support your faves.
And you know what? Support us, faves. If you like this show, you know, here's the thing. I am not opposed to doing more of these. There are seasons that we love. I'd love to go back and talk about these
I would
seasons.
too. You know what's so funny?
What's that? You just did the gentlest touch on my shoulder. Like all 5 fingertips just touch my shoulder, but nothing else of your hand. Like almost like a little spider landed upon my shoulder.
One of the last like cut scenes of Peter was like, I've watched Bake Off 8 or 9 times.
Yeah.
I've watched it all the time. I'm like 8 or 9.
8 or 9. Come on, dude. Come on, man.
Try like 20 times.
Yeah, I recently tweeted like I'm gonna rewatch Great British Bake Off, and somebody said which season, and I just wrote back all of them. What are you talking about? You can't just watch one season.
It is my most favorite thing. It was my most favorite thing to watch while I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Even though I was so sick, I still loved watching Bake Off.
So I don't know. Maybe we'll do more. Not right away.
No.
But you know what? You tell your friends about the show. You get them to go back and listen. Convince your friends. That's one of the lovely things. This show's on Netflix all the time.
All the time.
And we're not taking this down. So enjoy it. Go tell a friend. Yeah, you're great. Check out other McElroy shows, whatever. Teresa, what's the final proposition for this season?
Bake onwards.